The rumors are true. AJ Lee is back. She made her return on Smackdown in the main event segment. Everybody pretty much had this on their bingo card, but let me know what you think. And what did you think of this segment overall? My name is Matt. Welcome to Assemble. I want to go through all of this with you, from John Cena to the main event segment and Smackdown overall. I thought Smackdown was actually pretty good. I know there's a lot of hype behind this episode because it was in Chicago, because everybody had it figured out and pointed that it was going to be AJ Lee's return. And I think that it just overall, the show felt like it had more urgency and that it was going at a better pace, a faster pace. But let's talk about the beginning of SmackDown. You open things up with John Cena coming to the ring. The last SmackDown, they confirmed it. It's the last SmackDown Cena is going to be on, and it was in Chicago. You had a full thank you Cena promo at the very beginning. I think it was just really cool to see Cena in Chicago one more time, bringing up a bunch of stuff, his history in Chicago. And then you ended up having Sami Zayn come out, which was interesting. Now we'll talk about the match in a minute, but the initial moments of Sami coming down to the ring, getting in there, Sami got booed. It was just hilarious because they were not having it. They just wanted to have Cena in the ring doing his thing. And I thought it was really interesting that Sami did come out. You wanted to thank him for everything. And then they did the Sami Zayn US Open Challenge, which was great. This has me curious about what they will do for the upcoming episodes of Raw, or one episode of Raw. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think there's one more Raw that Cena will appear on, because they did this match on SmackDown with Sami. They could give, it could be a PLE match, but they could do one or two things like on Raw as a match. And this is what I was hoping for, because cheap plug, I have video on the channel that's going through Cena's final opponents if you guys want to check that out. But I was hypothesizing that maybe on Raw, one of Cena's final opponents could be Dom Mysterio for the Intercontinental title. Is it fun? If he needs something he could do, he could win the IC title. Or you could have the match with AJ Styles on Raw. I'd rather see that at a pay-per-view. I'd rather see that at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series or whatever. But it does open the door, I think, because we got the Sami match, that they could do a match on Raw. Now, Sami Zayn versus John Cena. This thing was great. There was more action in the commercial breaks than what was on TV, it felt like. Like, if you watched, I was watching on Netflix, so like you go through this thing, and during the commercial breaks, there's like attitude adjustments, there's kickouts, there's so much stuff happening. So I love the back and forth of this. It was cool to see these guys get in the ring one more time. Sami did not blow his arm out like he did the first time he met John Cena for the US title. So it were all worked out. But you ended the match with an avalanche, attitude adjustment. I did like the callbacks. Michael Cole, forget you, Michael Cole, you got things wrong. But during the match, you had, and you've had this already with like Logan Paul match, where you had John Cena do the Styles Clash to Logan Paul. So the shout out to AJ Styles. And then here in the Sami match, you had the shout out to Kurt Angle, which he did in the promo at the beginning, which was nice because it was in Chicago and for his debut, and it was on SmackDown. And then they did the ankle lock, or the angle lock, during the match. Then he also went for a spear, and not just any spear. He went for Edge's spear, and I loved it. Forget you, Michael Cole. He did not go for a Roman Reigns spear. How is that a Roman Reigns spear, Michael Cole? How? How is it? He's not there. But how does he go for that? Oh, his history with the tribal chief. No, it wasn't. He didn't do the ooh-ah. He did none of that. It was clearly Edge. The grabbing of the hair, the face, all of that. It was all Edge. Corey Graves did correct him a little bit, or try to allude that another person, and he's from Canada or whatever. But couldn't they just say Edge? Come on. Give us cope. But then he tried to go for an RKO. I love that the crowd also was just putting Cena through the ringer of like, okay, now do the RKO, and they're chanting for it, and he went for it too. Sami reversed it, but we got the avalanche attitude adjustment to close things off, and then what do we get? We got Brock Lesnar. Before the match could end, Brock comes out, his music hits, big pyro for Brock. He takes his hat off. He just dummies the referee out of the ring too. If you guys caught that, like, ouch to Mr. Referee. Does an F5 to Sami, hits an F5 on John, and then he picks him up and does a second F5 to John Cena. Brock Lesnar exits. Then Brock was backstage. He's about to leave Gorilla and just go home, I guess. But he just says, okay, it is confirmed that we are going to get John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at WrestlePalooza. I almost felt like Brock when he was saying it. It was almost like a moment where Brock's like, what's the name of the show I'm going to be on? He's like, I'll see you at WrestlePalooza. So yeah, we are officially going to get that match. It's going to be fun. I do wonder and maybe worry that they're going to do Brock Cena twice. They do it at Palooza. Maybe Brock beats him. And then Cena gets his win back at Crown Jewel in Australia against Brock, because we don't know how many dates we got Brock for. He's re-signed apparently, but we could see how much more they will do with Cena and Brock, or if it is in fact going to be a one-off. But question to you, do you think that Brock should really win that match against Cena, or do you think Cena should just go on this win streak? I do love that if he's got a couple of dates left, like the Raw, like we mentioned, and he's got the PLEs, that he does have other matches happening and then the big ones at the PLEs. So if it is Brock once, I'm fine with that. Twice, that's a little too much Brock for me. Priest versus Aleister Black was up next. That was good. They started off with a brawl. These guys have been kind of feuding a little bit. It's been like lower on the card. I really like Aleister Black. I just wish they were doing way more, but he did pick up the win. So Black Mass, Aleister Black wins. They used the referee in there again. Referees got beat up tonight, but we did get to see these two guys going at it. Tables were involved. It was good back and forth. A lot of brawling. A lot of commercials though, I must say. They felt like they really were cutting this thing down a lot, where you didn't get to see, if you were just watching on TV, you didn't get to see a whole heck of a lot. On Netflix, you got to see a little bit more. I thought it was fine, but it was a little bit of brawling. But yeah, Black Mass is good. I think it's good that Aleister Black is getting a victory here. He needs it. I think he needs it a little bit more than Damian Priest. Elevate him a little bit more. Let's get Aleister Black into that U.S. title division. Aleister Black versus Sami Zayn U.S. title, that could actually work. And we got confirmation that we're going to get Tiffany versus Jade Cargill in a rematch for the Women's Championship next week on SmackDown. Why you wouldn't do this at Palooza, don't know. But the SummerSlam match to me wasn't all that great. But you are also bringing Nia Jax into all of this. Curious what they will do. Yes, that's going to happen next week for the title one-on-one. You figure Jax is going to get involved somehow, cause a disqualification. Maybe after that, they then turned it into a triple threat. Just on this with Tiffany and Jade, I have very little excitement for it, to be honest. I think both of them are very good, but I can't help but feel that they don't have any real heat. And maybe it's because they're just both positioned as baby faces and there's no real story. It's just, I want to win. I kind of almost wish Nia Jax gets involved, and you know what, give somehow, some way, give Nia Jax the belt for all I care, because then you could at least have a big baddie in Nia, and you could have Jade go after Nia, and Jade trying to muscle up and topple the giant. And that's a cool story you could tell, and with some history. So we got a pre-film package too, where we're gonna get Randy versus Drew McIntyre. These two, I wonder if they are not gonna do Cody versus Drew at WrestlePalooza. It could go a couple of ways. If they've got Drew and Randy coming up, then they could have Cody make the return. You know, Drew beats Randy Orton, which I think Drew would need that, whether it's at SmackDown or they, rematch and they do something else at Palooza. Drew getting the win is necessary, I think, to build them up. If they are going to do Drew versus Cody at the Palooza, that's probably the way to go, unless they want to stretch it out and get to Crown Jewel to do that match officially. I do really like, regardless of how this all shakes out, I do really like Drew, Randy rekindling that feud. And I really like that if they bring Cody in there, that's great to just bring all three participants in there. Crown Jewel could be a triple threat, or it's Survivor Series and it's a triple threat. I would love to just see all these guys mix it up for several months, because then we could maybe lead to Randy turning heel and going up against Cody, so we can get that big story. And you never know, that could be Randy versus Cody, Randy being heel. That could be the catalyst and get you to WrestleMania. That's a big match to do. But I love if they can position Drew in a stronger way and get more out of Drew McIntyre. The other match we got was Michin versus Julia. Kiana James is in there too. Kiana gets a little bit involved, but Julia ultimately retains the title against Michin. I'm glad to see that Julia is getting more TV time. I like this pairing of Kiana James and Julia together as a heel, as a very clear-cut heel with Julia. I think it's a good move. I just think that you need to beef up that Women's United States division. You get more people involved. It's great that they're doing this where you've had Michin, you had Zelina, but I feel like you need another big, notable name. Almost like honestly, if you're not going to do Becky Lyra anymore, or Lyra and Bailey or anything like that, bring Lyra to SmackDown and go after Julia. That could be a good feud. But this match was very good, but they didn't spend too much time on this. It was really the bookend of the beginning and the closing segment. So then you have the main event. You had Becky showing up in her car, and Seth showed up as well later at the arena. Seth introduces things by standing into the crowd and booing and talking trash about Mr. CM Punk. Becky Lynch gets introduced by Seth. She comes down to the ring and just starts doing classic heel stuff of just booing and trash talking every sports team in Chicago. This leads to CM Punk coming out, and they basically recreate what they did on Raw up until the ending. I was gonna say the finish, but the ending of this. Now, people are always mixed on Becky Lynch. Some people, like I'll get in the comments here, they're just like anti-Becky. They say it's the worst thing. She's ruining wrestling. She's ruining everything. Others say they're fine with it. So it's a town of two minds, I guess. I do like Becky's position here as the heel. Like, she's been a heel for quite some time now, and I have enjoyed it, actually, compared to previous heel runs she has done, and even her face runs more recently. I like this pairing with Seth. I really do. Interesting that Seth comes out, and like, I know it's Seth and Becky and they're trying to do this tag team thing. Seth doesn't have the vision with him. Like, they gotta try. Hopefully, once this mixed tag is done, hopefully the vision comes back around and Braun and Bronson are kind of like, you're kind of ditching us here, man, to go do this stuff with your wife. Like, I think they need to build that backstage with more segments. Breaker wondering what's going on with Seth. Maybe when Paul Heyman returns, maybe we get more details there. But something I think on the side that needs to go down with this group. Why they weren't there to support Seth, don't really know. But I mean, in story, yes, they want to be able to build this tag team match. So Becky and Punk are in the ring. Becky is just egging him on, slapping him like crazy, like they did on Raw. I thought it was just really well done. It was a lot of fun. And Punk saying that he won't hit Lady. The crowd cheered at the beginning of the night for AJ Lee. They cheered for her and chanted for her during this promo. And Becky even is just like, stop chanting her name. I mean, what Punk did was interesting, though, in the whole promo. He brings up and says, like, the crowd should chant for AJ Lee. And then they cheer and everything. And then he also, who else did he bring up? He was like, you could fight my sister in the crowd. He also mentioned Rhea Ripley in there too. It's like, you could go up against all these people. I like that he did that where Bailey, I think was the other name. But I like that he did mention several people, so that I guess for like half a second, you're trying to throw people off because everyone's kind of cheering like, hey, Bailey. And then they were like, oh yeah, Rhea, that's cool. But I think for all of us, if you're watching this, you're feeling like if they did anybody else other than AJ Lee, this would have bombed. Like, it really would have. If they said we're going to bring out Rhea Ripley, that crowd they booed Sami Zayn. They would have booed the absolute tar out of Rhea Ripley if she was revealed to be the partner. It wasn't going to work any other way. So it's good that they kind of revealed it and teased the whole thing as they went along. You got to deliver those things. And that's the thing with WWE sometimes, is like, you can tease it, but if you don't just do the thing that people are expecting you to do, that's the payoff. And I'm glad they did that. AJ's music hits. She has her old theme, and Punk is standing there smiling, and AJ Lee comes out. She looks great. She looks like she doesn't age a day. And so she comes in and then immediately starts brawling with Becky. I thought it was great. She got the big slap in there, takedowns, and then AJ stands tall. Becky rolls out of the ring. Seth grabs her. They hightail it out, and AJ Lee and Punk are left standing in the ring. What I liked was that at the beginning of this brawl, of this confrontation of Becky and AJ, I did like that Punk stayed on the outside of the ring. He wasn't even in the ring. So I really liked that they positioned it this way so that you didn't have Punk overshadowing like that moment. You needed AJ Lee to get that big. It's fun. Like, I'm glad she's back. And I think it was great that she got that moment with Becky in the ring. Just beat her, do the beat down, do it all by herself. And then you get Punk and AJ celebrating in the ring afterwards. Where do you go from here? Obviously, we're going to WrestlePalooza, mixed tag team match. This is going to be a big deal. The crowd went nuts all night long. They were hot in Chicago. Do you think it's a one-time deal? Do you think that they're going to have her back for several months? I can see that they do this at Palooza. Maybe you're going to get Becky and AJ one-on-one at Crown Jewel in Australia. That would be a huge match. Do you do it for the Intercontinental title? Probably. And then do you put a belt on AJ Lee? You might. Maybe you end it in a wonk finish because it's Becky and Seth gets involved. And maybe, yeah, I could see that. Seth costs AJ the match at Crown Jewel. Punk and AJ pick up the victory at WrestlePalooza is the most obvious thing because there's no titles on the line. So you get the good guys to win and probably close that show. They were also pushing the ESPN thing going on in the United States to stream WrestlePalooza. So I saw those advertisements. It's funny to see that ESPN was getting advertised while it was on Netflix. That was interesting. But internationally, you can just watch it on Netflix, by the way. So I'm thinking that, yeah, Punk, AJ, they go over WrestlePalooza. Crown Jewel, maybe it's Becky and AJ one-on-one with a wonk finish. Then my thinking here is they somehow get to Survivor Series War Games, and it's a mixed gender war games for the first time. I think that I hope WWE learns something. I know you cannot pop a crowd like that every week for big giant moments. It can't happen. But I think what you can learn is the urgency, the tempo of it. It went fast, and it's a 2-hour show, and it did feel like, man, what's next? What's next? What's next? I liked that. The crowd helps a lot, but every crowd nowadays is typically pretty hot, and especially internationally. Chicago did a great job. I hope that they can keep this going for SmackDown going forward. But what did you think of AJ Lee's return? I liked it. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to WrestlePalooza. I want to see what they pull off. I want to see if John Cena goes up against anybody else. But we talked about just for a second there about how, you can't do it every single week. You can't bring out somebody and get a big pop. You brought out AJ Lee, you brought out Brock Lesnar. And we talk about it in this video, all the kind of like final legends that WWE has available to them to do this kind of thing. And it's a kind of a problem, or is it? But we break that down in this video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys can. Hit that like button. Let me know what you think of SmackDown. Have a great day. See ya.